On the other side, inside the Tang family estate, Tang Luan was both excited and anxious at this moment. He could hardly wait to see the scene of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion being destroyed. By that time, the beautiful Jean Mulan would be deprived of her martial arts skills and become a plaything for the crown prince. Su Peipai would die of a broken heart due to the death of the mythical Turtle Count, and that little beast Shenlang would be torn to pieces by countless people. Thinking of these exciting scenes, Jean High Count could hardly suppress his laughter. At this moment, the heir of distant guard Marquis, Su Jianteng, actually took the initiative to visit Jean High Count. Although Tang Luan had also betrayed the old noble alliance, he still looked down on families like the Su family that were disloyal and unfaithful. Su young master, you came here today. Could it be that you have also set your sights on the gold veins of Cliffwatch Island? However, Su Jianting laughed and said, rest assured, Jean High Count, my Su family is not so short-sighted. I came here today just to ask you to pass a message. Tang Luan was startled, not for the gold veins, but to pass a message. What does the Su family mean by this? Su Jianting laughed and said, as you know, Jean High Count, the main force of the mythical Turtle Count is currently on Cliffwatch Island, but the current situation is unstable, and their territorial defense is inadequate. I fear that bandits might emerge. Given my status, it's not suitable for me to come forward and advise. Why don't you go and remind Miss Jean Mulan? Upon hearing this, Tang Luan was greatly shocked. Damn, aren't you clearly reminding me that the Jean family is now short of troops, allowing me to wreak havoc? Su Peipai is your own aunt, and Jean Mulan once had a marriage contract with you. Your Su family's repeated ruthless actions are really quite shameless. Then, Su Jianting continued, Jean High Count, you are a genius in using troops. During the last conflict over the Isle of Gold Mountain, my 10 experts made significant progress while trying out in your army. This time, I have brought 50 more experts, and was wondering if they could train under your command for a few months. As the voice fell, outside the door stood 50 warriors in neat order. Seeing this, Jean High Count couldn't help but be overjoyed inside. Your Su family not only brings news for me to act as bandits and ravage the Jean family's territory, but also willingly supports me with 50 experts without any cost. You really are ruthless and venomous. Thinking this, Tang Luan turned his head and smiled. Since Su young master is so generous, then I will keep these experts and train them well. After Su Jianting left, Tang Luan approached to observe these dozens of warriors and made an unexpected discovery. These people, with eyes cold as killing machines, were all from the western regions, and moreover, they were death soldiers, explicitly forbidden by the sovereign to be kept. Facing this group of people, Jean High Count couldn't help but become suspicious of the Su family. Is distant guard Marquis planning something big? But now was not the time to think about this. He immediately summoned his other 3 sons, instructing them to lead 200 warriors and the 50 experts from the Su family to pretend to be bandits and go to the Jean family's territory to cause destruction. Tang Luan said fiercely, now that the Jean family's territory is short of troops, you can kill and set fires as you please, without regard for anyone. Understood? Once everything was arranged and his sons departed, Tang Luan began to worry about his eldest son, Tan Zong. Now several days have passed since we set out to attack Cliffwatch Island. The battle might have already ended. Qiu Tianwei is cunning. If I am not present, Tan Zong will surely be at a disadvantage when it comes to dividing the gold veins. Thinking this, Tang Luan immediately ordered, set out for Cliffwatch Island right now. However, as their ship passed by Isle of Gold Mountain, they noticed several pirate ships, also heading in the same direction. Tang Luan, watching from the deck, was puzzled. This is Chiu House Fleet Station at Isle of Gold Mountain. Why are they not defending Isle of Gold Mountain, but heading towards Cliffwatch Island? Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in the spyglass. Is that Prefect Zhang? Tang Luan thought he had seen wrong and hurriedly rubbed his eyes. Wasn't Zhang Chong recuperating at home? How could he appear here? When he looked through the spyglass again, he found that Zhang Chong was not on the opposite deck. It seems I really did have a vision error. That Zhang Chong is just a man of great ambition but little talent. After losing the Isle of Gold Mountain dispute, he fell ill and never recovered. What a so-called eminent official, simply a reputation without substance. This time, the great merit of destroying the mythical Turtle Count's mansion must belong to me, Tang Luan. And you, Zhang Chong, your career is over. Little did Tang Luan know, he had not seen incorrectly. Zhang Chong, upon seeing Tang Luan's ship, immediately went into the cabin. At this moment, Zhang Chong sighed and said, it seems Qiu Tianwei might have lost the battle, and it's very likely he's already dead. Zhang Chonghua was shocked. Father, did you send someone to infiltrate Cliffwatch Island for reconnaissance? Zhang Chong looked at his daughter and shook his head. If the Qiu Tianwei's army had already taken Cliffwatch Island, they would have been eager to call miners from Isle of Gold Mountain by now. Why haven't we heard any news until now? And this Tang Luan either wants to go to the island to see the death of the mythical Turtle Count with his own eyes, or he's worried that Qiu Tianwei will disadvantage Tan Zong when dividing the gold veins. But I really can't imagine how Shenlang managed to capture all 30,000 pirates in one go. At this time, Zhang Chonghua reminded him, Father, there's no need to rack your brains over these things. Once everything is over, it will all be clear. And isn't our current target Furious Tide City? After hearing this, Zhang Chong turned his head and said, I've already already sent your brother with 6,000 elite troops to lay in wait at Furious Tide City. Right now, the fate of our 3 families, and even the success or failure of the new policies of the U Kingdom, all hinge on the Battle of Furious Tide City. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. It's just that I don't know if this oriole can successfully accomplish a great feat. At this moment, Zhang Chunhua suddenly said with a mixture of regret and resolve, "Father, it's my failure for not capturing Qiu Yaoer, for not smoothly completing your plan for Furious Tide City. You didn't capture Qiu Yaoer, but you captured Qiu Hao, which is already a great achievement. Chunhua, you didn't suffer any loss, did you? My ass has already been sold to Qiu Hao." Zhang Chong was immediately faced with a deadpan expression upon hearing this. Zhang Chunhua changed the subject. "Qiu Hao only likes men, even if I wanted to sell this but wouldn't be sellable. Besides, he's not Shenlang. Why would I sell my butt to him?" Zhang Chong was speechless. His daughter had started talking nonsense again. Helplessly, he could only suppress his frustration and not scold her. Otherwise, it would only encourage her more. After a while, Zhang Chunhua felt that her father's lack of response was quite boring, so she asked seriously, "Father, what are we going to do next?" Zhang Chong sneered. "This time, I have emptied all the garrison troops of the Lord Mansions in New River County, except for those in mythical Turtle City, and together with Qiu Hao's 3,000 pirates, a total of 6,000 soldiers are heading to Furious Tide City. To aim for the high, one must secure the middle. To plan for the middle, one must control the low. Silently and stealthily, that's how to strike with the force of thunder." Meanwhile, in Furious Tide City, Shenlang, having gathered all of the Jin family's elite forces, took Qiu Tianwei's castle with the speed of lightning, and Zhang Ji led 6,000 official troops to occupy the western castle just as quickly. From this point, Furious Tide City entered a 3-way standoff. Although Shenlang had anticipated this situation, when it actually happened, he couldn't help but inwardly exclaim at Prefect Zhang's brilliance to be able to keep such a calm demeanor and feign illness for months, then stab in the back at the critical moment. Shenlang began to analyze the situation with Jin Hui and Jin Zhiying. "Currently, our forces are the weakest among the 3 powers. The main castle defended by Qiu Yaoer with 3,000 warriors is impregnable, and that Zhang Ji is just waiting in the western castle, waiting for me and Qiu Yaoer to fight until both sides are injured. Then he'll strike from behind to reap the benefits of the fishermen. This situation is indeed quite tricky." Suddenly, Shenlang's face revealed a sly smile. Jin Zhiying was somewhat puzzled. After all, they were up against the invincible demoness, Qiu Yaoer. He had already resigned himself to a do-or-die attitude towards this battle. Yet, young Master Shen's unsettling smile somehow reignited a flicker of hope in him. And then, for the next 3 days, Furious Tide City remained as calm as usual, until the 4th day when Shenlang suddenly ordered the gathering of all soldiers in preparation for attacking the main castle. Although the Jin family's troops were filled with doubts, a military order is as heavy as a mountain. 2,000 elite troops could only march to the main castle with a do-or-die spirit. This news quickly reached Zhang Ji's ears. "General, should we also dispatch our troops?" Zhang Ji decisively refused. Just as Shenlang had said, Zhang Ji wanted to take advantage of the moment when Qiu Yaoer and he were fighting to the death to seize the main castle. But now, Shenlang's 2,000 troops against Qiu Yaoer were obviously in a losing position. Zhang Ji immediately ordered all troops to be battle-ready. He had to seize the best moment to strike at any time. Meanwhile, atop the main castle, Qiu Yaoer had long been waiting. She looked down coldly and said, "Shenlang, I had already warned you not to show up in Furious Tide City again, but since you've come, you might as well start the siege." Hearing this, Shenlang took a deep breath and closed his eyes. This woman, though formidable, had once shared a night with me, but what of it? Even if I've slept with her, she's still a stranger, isn't she? I can only care about the people I love. The strangers I've slept with can die. All soldiers, on my command, begin the attack. At Shenlang's command, several catapults were pushed forward by the soldiers behind him, while Qiu Yaoer stood on top of the city wall, coldly watching the enemy forces outside, her eyes showing no fear at all. Seeing this, Shenlang also greatly admired Qiu Yaoer's courage. It's just a pity she is Qiu Tianwei's daughter, an enemy of the Jin family. Therefore, she must die. Thinking this, Shenlang no longer hesitated and was about to order the stone throwing when suddenly, Su Chanqian, with a loud shout, rushed out onto the city wall and stood in front of Qiu Yaoer. "Shenlang, you can't kill her. Qiu Yaoer is pregnant. She already carries your child." At these words, Shenlang was completely dumbfounded. Near Cliffwatch Island, Jin High Count Tang Luan's ship was gradually approaching. At this moment, he looked at the inconspicuous little island before him, excited beyond measure. In his view, even 1/10 of the gold veins on the island could make the Tang family rise to prominence. Suddenly, a loud whistle of a ship was heard not far away. Looking over, several pirate warships were approaching them. After identifying themselves, a few pirates responsible for patrolling the sea boarded Tang Luan's flagship and performed a noble salute to Tang Nine. The man with a disdainful gaze and an air of superiority was named Tang Nine, naturally Tang Luan's 9th son. At this moment, he disdainfully glanced at the men before throwing a few gold coins on the deck. The pirates, seeing this, rushed to grab the gold coins like dogs seeing bones. One of the pirates even shamelessly asked Tang 9 for some wine. Tang 9, looking at these beggars like pirates, felt a wave of disdain, but since there was still a collaboration between them, he still ordered someone to bring them a few barrels of good wine. As the pirates were moving the wine, Tang Luan came out, and the pirates quickly knelt down to greet him. Seeing them so sensibly paying their respects, Tang Luan was pleased, and immediately had a bag of gold coins thrown to them. Then he sat down to inquire about the situation on the island. Unfortunately, these pirates were just left by Qiu Tianwei to patrol and guard the area, and knew nothing about the situation on the island. They only knew that there had been fighting sounds all over the island a few days ago, but from yesterday onwards, there were no sounds of battle. Perhaps the fight was over, and they were dividing the gold. After saying this, they even pointed out the direction where Qiu Tianwei's camp was located on the island for Tang Luan. After hearing this, Tang Luan picked up his spyglass and observed in the direction pointed for a long while before he saw Qiu Tianwei's camp next to the Jin family's mine. Putting down the spyglass, Tang Luan couldn't wait to order his men to arrange for landing on the island. At that moment, one of the pirates obsequiously suggested to Tang Luan that they wanted to follow and land on the island together. Tang Luan, of course, understood the pirates' desire to share in the spoils and readily agreed to their request. Soon, Tang Luan led 200 guards to land on the island and marched majestically towards the direction of the mine. Walking on the wide and flat road, Tang Luan's seventh son, Tang 7, mocked. Who would have thought that the Jin family, lacking in other skills, are actually quite good at building roads? They've made this godforsaken place so smooth. Tang Luan laughed heartily upon hearing this, then turned to his sons and said, no matter how well it's built, it now belongs to our Tang family. The mythical turtle count's downfall can only be attributed to their family not being populous enough, passing down the tradition of marrying only one wife. Such a large family has regrettably dwindled to only leaving behind an idiot, Jin Mutsong. It's truly laughable. At this moment, Tang 9 cautiously asked from behind, Father, I heard you're planning to marry 13 to Jin Mutsong, but she was fostered in our family after uncle's death, wasn't she? Before he could finish, Tang Luan glared at him. Isn't that good? It's more controllable this way. Tang 9 hesitated slightly before telling Tang Luan, Father, I've already slept with 13. To his surprise, Tang Luan was delighted. No problem, continue sleeping with her. It would be best if you could freely give him a son after she marries Jin Mutsong. Tang 9, who was initially worried his father would be angry, became excited upon hearing this. Alright, then, the Jin family will belong to us Tangs from now on. As they spoke, Tang Luan also led the troops to Qiu Tianwei's camp by the mine. Seeing the densely packed camp empty, Tang Luan began to shout for Qiu Tianwei, Furious Tides Marquis, I am here. How come everyone is sleeping inside the camp during broad daylight and no one is guarding the gate? After shouting for a long time with no response, he thought Qiu Tianwei was in the mine and didn't hear him, so he kept shouting while walking towards the mine pit. Unexpectedly, just as he reached the center of the camp, suddenly, the Jin family soldiers, who had been ambushing in the tents on both sides for a long time, rushed out in a surge. In the blink of an eye, Tang Luan and his 200 guards were completely surrounded. Seeing this scene, Tang Luan was dumbfounded, being ambushed by Jin family soldiers within the Qiu camp. It was clear what had happened, but that was Qiu Tianwei's formidable army of 30,000 pirates known for their ruthlessness, along with my son, Tan Zong, and 3,000 private soldiers. Where did they all go? Could they all have been dealt with by Jin Zhua? No, that's impossible. I must be hallucinating. At this moment, the mythical turtle count came out, greeting nonchalantly, Jin High Count, long time no see. How have you been? Seeing Jin Zhua at that moment, Tang Luan was terrified. Wasn't he supposed to be dead? Why is he standing here? Perfectly fine. What exactly happened? The mythical turtle count, seeing Tang Luan's reaction, wasn't surprised. The arrival of brother Tang is indeed a pleasant surprise. It seems the next two big problems can now be resolved. At this point, Tang Luan finally reacted, screaming, Jin Zhua, what have you done to my son? Where is Qiu Tianwei? Where is the grand army of 30,000? The mythical turtle count calmly had the soldiers make way. Don't worry, cousin, your son and Qiu Tianwei, they're all floating down there. You might want to see for yourself, but if you're here to collect their bodies, I'm sorry to say, they're all frozen now. You'll probably have to wait until spring for them to thaw. Tang Luan was completely stunned. Coming to his senses, he rushed to the edge of the mine pit, but when he saw the scene inside the pit, his mind went blank. The entire pit was densely packed with frozen bodies. The horrific sight completely broke Tang Luan, who collapsed to the ground. It can't be. This must all be fake. Wait, there are no Tang family soldiers here, right? Jin Zhua, don't think you can fool me. Where have you hidden my son and the Tang family soldiers? The mythical turtle count coldly looked at him. Tang Luan, there's no need to search. Your Tang family soldiers, wearing such heavy armor, have already sunk to the bottom. Hearing this, Tang Luan was stunned in place. He wanted to scream but couldn't make a sound, wanted to cry but could only desperately claw at the ground. How could they just die like that? There were more than 30,000 people. Suddenly, it seemed he thought of something, immediately turning his head with his bloodied fingers pointing at the mythical turtle count. It's Shenlang, right? This is all Shenlang's conspiracy, isn't it? The mythical turtle count didn't deny it. Correct. This was a death trap Shenlang Shenlang set for Qiu Tianwei. There was no ancient gold vein. Everything was an illusion. I just didn't expect that you, Jin High Count, would also be so eager to come to your demise. Hearing this, tears finally welled up in Tang Luan's eyes. He had lost completely once again. And all of this, isn't it because of my greed? Zhang Chong had warned me, Shenlang is a heartless person. This gold vein must have problems. But I, still arrogantly fell into Shenlang's trap. My greed has completely destroyed the Tang family. I, Tang Luan, have let down the ancestors of the Tang family. As his voice fell, Tang Luan let out a desperate and unwilling howl to the heavens. Ancestors, I have failed you. I have failed you. The next second, he heavily fell to the ground. Tang Luan's sons, seeing their father fall, rushed up, but were stopped by the soldiers. Jin Zhong went up to check. Tang Luan was still alive. Meanwhile, in Furious Tide City, just as Shenlang was about to order an attack on Qiu Yaoer, Su Chanshan rushed out to stop him, crying and telling Shenlang that Qiu Yaoer was pregnant with his child. This massive revelation almost made all the Jin family soldiers' jaws drop. Even the several loyal servants behind Shenlang were both shocked and speechless towards their young master Shen. Jin Hui even broke out in a cold sweat for young master Shen. Even Qiu Yaoer, this demoness, has been dealt with by young master Shen. Impressive, truly impressive. But this should count as infidelity, right? After a moment, Shenlang finally recovered from his shock, slowly speaking. Su Chanshan, you say Qiu Yaoer shouldn't die. Should I, Shenlang, die then? Should my 2,000 brothers behind me die? Do you realize that Zhang Ji's thousands of troops are not far behind us, ready to rush up and wipe us out at any moment? If I can't take Furious Tide City, my Jin family is finished. Do you understand? Su Chanshan, I knew you were won over by Qiu Yaoer, that you truly stand on her side. But it doesn't matter anymore. None of it does. We were always mortal enemies. He then no longer hesitated and ordered the stone attack to be prepared again. Seeing this, Su Chanshan was already in tears. Of course, she knew the current situation and that she couldn't change Shenlang's decision, but the child in Qiu Yaoer's womb is innocent. Thinking this, she suddenly turned around, knelt down, and hugged Qiu Yaoer's legs, pleading, General, please talk to Shenlang. Will you? He really will kill you. I don't want you to die, nor do I want the child in your womb to die. You say you don't love the child, but that's because you haven't seen him, haven't felt him. As time goes by, you will accept and love this child. However, these words didn't move Qiu Yaoer. She still spoke with a cold and firm tone. Thank you for your concern, but death is not something I fear. I can feel Shenlang's intention to kill. I swear to defend Furious Tide City from my adoptive father. I owe him that. Hearing such words, Su Chanshan despaired. Then she got up, shouting as she ran towards the edge of the city wall. If you all insist on killing each other, then there's no hope for my revenge. Might as well die right in front of you. Make it quick. The next second, she actually jumped off the 20-some meter high city wall, intending to use her death to shake Qiu Yaoer's heart. However, in a swift moment, Qiu Yaoer reached out and grabbed her clothes. In Qiu Yaoer's heart, she might not care about anyone's life or death, but she couldn't accept someone dying for her. At this moment, Su Chanshan, hanging in midair, cried and cursed. Shenlang, are you even a man? You already have a child with Qiu Yaoer. Won't you talk properly? I fuck. She was the one who came onto me. I'm the victim here. Fine, come on then. You come. Do as you fuck please. Hearing Su Chanshan's words left Shenlang speechless. This woman is really shameless. Helplessly, he could only grumble as he walked towards the city gate alone. Fine, I'll come in and talk peace with you by myself. Just me alone. Kill or slash as you wish. If we can't talk it out, then we fight. We kill. Shen 13 and Jin Hui hurried forward to stop him, but Shenlang simply said, don't worry about me. At this point, we must make a quick decision. I no longer have the luxury of choice. Having said that, he walked straight towards the wooden box lowered by Qiu Yaoer. The next second, he was pulled up as if by an elevator. Qiu Yaoer's strength was truly formidable. A large wooden box plus Shenlang's height of 1.8 meters. She easily pulled him up the more than 20 meters high city wall by herself. Standing on the wall, Shenlang, though still imposing, was actually very worried inside. I came here alone. What if Qiu Yaoer suddenly decides to kill me? At this moment, Su Chanshan couldn't help but step forward and started arguing with Shenlang. Although her words were harsh, this actually eased Shenlang's inner tension. After a bout of verbal sparring, Shenlang activated his X-ray vision towards Qiu Yaoer's abdomen. Indeed, a tiny embryo was growing in her womb. Seeing this, Shenlang was thoroughly dismayed. Your blood, Qiu Yaoer, is full of heavy metals, and you frequently let blood. How could you still get pregnant from me so easily? And more so, the embryo is growing healthily? Should I praise my own prowess? Or is it your Qiu family's lineage that's incredibly formidable? After calming his emotions, Shenlang looked towards Qiu Yaoer. Let's not talk about this child for now. To be honest with you, when I was treating you, I had already tampered with your body. I can take your life at any moment. Shenlang wasn't lying about this. During the treatment, he had implanted several extremely small particles inside Qiu Yaoer. These particles were deadly cyanide extracted from a large amount of almonds, encased in a very thin metallic shell to create poison pills. On the catapult, the ammunition was made from meteorite magnet powder. Once Qiu Yaoer shattered them, the powder would adhere to her body surface. Qiu Yaoer would definitely try to break free at that that moment, causing true energy to burst forth from every part of her body. The thin metal balls would be squeezed by true energy and attracted by the magnets, causing the metal balls to crack and the cyanide inside to enter the bloodstream. In just a few seconds, Qiu Yaoer would be dead. By then, although the alchemist in Zaiqian didn't hold a high position in the Lord's castle, being an old man by Qiu Tianwei's side, he had seniority and credibility. Without a leader, he could collaborate with Shenlang from inside and outside to take over the castle. But at this moment, Shenlang found himself in a dilemma. He had anticipated the Zhang family would make a move, but Qiu Yaoer's pregnancy was truly unexpected. So, a better option has presented itself to me. I'm really pregnant. Yes. Whose fault is that? I bear no responsibility for this. I'm the victim. Qiu Yaoer, seeing Shenlang's attitude, directly said, though I'm pregnant, I don't need you to take responsibility. It's only been over a month and hasn't taken form yet. Just pretend it doesn't exist. Shenlang, hearing this, replied even more unhappily, just shut up. It was you who slept with me, leaving me covered in bruises and hurting my wife's feelings. Now, you're even pregnant. Do you still intend to keep this child? Qiu Yaoer didn't continue the topic, but simply said, I'll send you down. Let's start the battle. Seeing this, Su Qianqian desperately stood in front of Qiu Yaoer. General, can this matter really not be resolved peacefully? I don't understand why you remain loyal to Qiu Tianwei, who is utterly evil. Qiu Yaoer told her, if it weren't for Qiu Tianwei's rescue in my childhood, I would have died at sea long ago. Therefore, I must repay this nurturing kindness. But Su Qianqian didn't see it that way. She knew that the foundation of the Qiu family was built by Qiu Yaoer herself, through battles in the north and south. This nurturing kindness should have been repaid long ago, yet Qiu Yaoer shook her head. No, the adoptive father saved me, so I owe him my life. If I can survive today's battle and keep Furious Tide City for him, then I will leave and wander far away. At this moment, Shenlang spoke up from behind her. You don't need to repay him anymore, because Qiu Tianwei is already dead. Qiu Yaoer trembled, but she still turned back to tell them, even if Qiu Tianwei is dead, I must keep Furious Tide City for him. At worst, I can hand the city over to Qiu Hao in the future, fulfilling my promise. Shenlang, you may leave. Fate is in the hands of the heavens. Let's continue the battle. Facing Qiu Yaoer's thoughts, Shenlang immediately scolded. Are you out of your mind, you foolish woman? Do you not realize that you no longer owe Qiu Tianwei anything? Do you know the cook who poisoned you with salt was instigated by your so-called adoptive father, Qiu Tianwei? Hearing this, Qiu Yaoer was shocked. How could that be? Seeing her disbelief, Shenlang had no choice but to continue explaining. Qiu Tianwei never considered you as a daughter. He wanted you to be his woman. But now, you've become so powerful that not only are all the pirates in this sea afraid of you, but even he has started to fear you. Your prestige has long surpassed his, making him appear dull in comparison, and making Qiu Xiao look like a wastrel who only ruins women. Therefore, you cannot stay. You must die. Hearing Shenlang's words, Qiu Yaoer's expression drastically changed. She had indeed felt that her adoptive father's gaze towards her was strange, but she had not thought in that direction. The idea that her adoptive father wanted to kill her was utterly beyond her expectations. At this moment, Qiu Yaoer, filled with a murderous aura, asked Shenlang, do you have any evidence to prove these things? Shenlang informed her. The cook, Shu Shu, is now in a secret room underneath the Lord's mansion. You need to release Zaiqian, and he can lead you to her. Qiu Yaoer, puzzled, asked, why wouldn't my adoptive father just silence such an insignificant woman? Shenlang smiled. It's because the cook got pregnant, and Qiu Tianwei thought the child was his, but actually, it's Zaiqian's. Moments later, the cook, Shu Shu, was brought up to the city. Qiu Yaoer asked, did my adoptive father instruct you to poison me with salt? Yes. Qiu Tianwei commanded me to kill you by using poison salt in your food, starting 2 years ago. Seeing this, Shenlang confidently smiled. There, everything's out in the open. Meanwhile, back on Cliffwatch Island, after fainting for several hours from the shock, Tang Luan finally regained consciousness. He felt drained and listless, chilled to the bone despite being covered in several thick blankets, as cold as if he had been dropped into an ice cellar. Tang Luan, brother, are you awake? This sudden voice made him sit up sharply, but upon seeing the mythical turtle count calmly sitting by the bed, he remembered everything. The Tang family had lost, not to Jinzhua, but to that heartless son-in-law, Shenlang. With this realization, he mustered his last bit of dignity and said, Jinzhua, just kill me. Considering we're both from old noble families, please let me die with some dignity. However, the mythical turtle count simply shook his head. Tang Luan, I won't kill you or your 2 sons, but you'll have to do something for me. Tang Luan, startled, then looked towards the mythical turtle count. What is it? The mythical turtle count continued. It's simple. There's still a group of pirates at sea that I need to eliminate. They're surely thinking of landing to divide the gold. Lure them ashore. Of course, this task requires your personal attention, while your 2 sons will stay here with me. Tang Luan sighed. To cut the grass and remove the roots, to prevent future troubles. He clearly understood the mythical turtle count's intentions, but for the sake of the Tang family, he had no choice but to reluctantly agree. An hour later, the pirates were lured by Tang Luan onto the island. At this moment, half a step into the Grim Reaper's embrace, the pirates still wholeheartedly thanked Jin High Count. Unaware of Tang Luan's anomaly, fellow brothers, The gold left for you by the Pirate King is just ahead, inside the smelting workshop. Everyone grab your gold and hurry back to patrol the seas. Moments later, the pirates arrived at the wooden workshop, and the neatly stacked piles of gold bricks instantly made their eyes shine. Subsequently, they couldn't wait to pounce towards the gold bricks. For these greedy pirates, how could they possibly be satisfied with just one piece each? In no time, pirates who didn't get gold drew their sabers. Suddenly, the workshop was embroiled in conflict. Then, a series of knocks from outside was heard. A pirate near the door finally noticed something was amiss. How come the door is locked? At this moment, Jin family soldiers were seen securing the entire workshop with armor. Then, hundreds of flaming arrows shot towards the workshop. The next second, with a loud boom, the workshop was engulfed in flames. Only then did the pirates inside realize it was a trap. Seeing the fierce flames, everyone panicked. At this moment, the pirates cursed frantically, desperately trying to break the wooden walls with their knives and bodies. But when they saw the armor covering from outside, all hope was lost. As the fire grew, the curses and pleas for help inside gradually faded away. In just about 10 minutes, these remaining pirates were burned to ashes, leaving nothing behind. Atop the hill, Tang Luan, looking at the rising smoke, asked the mythical turtle count, "I've done what you asked. Can you let my sons and me go now?" The mythical turtle count turned and said, "Not so fast. There's one last thing you need to do for me." After hearing this, Tang Luan gritted his teeth and said, "Now that these over 100 warships also belong to your Jin family, what more do you want? Aren't you afraid of biting off more than you can chew and choking yourself to death?" However, Jin Jue didn't respond, simply giving a look that said, "You know what I mean without me having to say it." Seeing this, Tang Luan immediately understood. "Do you intend to use me to impersonate Qiu Tianwei's pirates to help you recapture the Isle of Gold Mountain?" On the other hand, the mythical turtle count and Shen Lang had been away from the count's mansion for nearly a month. During these 20+ days, Jean Mulan was exhausted to the extreme. Now, the entire defense of the count's mansion rested on her alone, and only 1,000 family private soldiers remained in the mansion. For safety, she took matters into her own hands, sleeping no more than 3 hours a day. Even so, to not disappoint her husband upon his sudden return, she would use these 3 hours to wash herself thoroughly, even going as far as to sleep in the bathtub to save time. Physical exhaustion was one thing, but mental fatigue was key. Her father led 4,000 troops against Qiu Tianwei's 30,000 strong army, and her husband also led only 2,000 troops to seize Furious Tide City. Both fronts were perilous ventures, extremely dangerous. Yet, to this moment, there had been no news, which naturally made her anxious, especially considering the last time her husband returned. Not only was he physically violated, but also severely injured. Jean Mulan was infuriated. "Qiu Yaoer, you shameless woman, better not harbor any thoughts towards my husband this time. Someday, I, Jean Mulan, will surely tear you to pieces." As these thoughts overwhelmed her, sleepiness hit, and in a moment, Jean Mulan fell asleep. Little Bing felt deeply sorry to see her mistress so exhausted, only hoping that the Count and young Master Shen could return victorious soon. At this moment, the lady of the Jean household was kneeling in front of the ancestral hall, praying for the mythical turtle Count and Shen Lang to show her sincerity and ask the ancestors to protect the two men who had gone to the front lines. The lady had neither eaten nor drunk, kneeling devoutly for several days. Just then, a frantic messenger's voice came from the front of the hall. "Lady, miss, there's enemy movement on our lands. Jean Sword Lady has returned injured." Upon hearing this, the lady of the Jean family immediately drew her sword and rushed outside, while Mulan also quickly led her troops, following closely behind her mother. At this moment, they saw Jean Sword Lady, covered in wounds, struggling towards them in a wretched state. "Lady, miss." For some reason, a large group of bandits bearing the Ku Tuhuan flag appeared on our lands. Hearing the name Ku Tuhuan, the lady and Mulan were shocked. Ku Tuhuan is a notorious bandit from the province of the Southern Journey, known for his ruthless and evil deeds, with hundreds of wicked followers under his command. Moreover, he is shrouded in mystery, with no one having seen his true face. At this point, Jean Sword Lady, who had pushed herself to return, finally collapsed from exhaustion. Mulan quickly went forward to check her injuries, but curiously, all the wounds, though appearing severe, were precisely avoided vital areas. The lady immediately ordered someone to fetch doctor and to treat her injuries. Catching her breath, Jean Sword Lady continued recounting her ordeal. "Just now, while leading a cavalry patrol on our lands, we encountered a group of bandits, mercilessly chasing down civilians. Without a second thought, I led my troops to fight them. Unfortunately, they outnumbered us, and only I managed to break through to come back and report. But miss, they could have killed me directly, yet they let me break through to come back and report. I suspect this act was deceitful." Dr. An, who had arrived, also chimed in. "Though Ku Tuhuan is a bandit, he has never appeared in New River County before. I also think this is a diversion, someone impersonating Ku Tuhuan to lure you out." Hearing both analyses, Mulan was torn. She didn't know whether she should personally lead troops to rescue the civilians on her lands, or stay and defend the Count's mansion, sending out a cavalry troop to engage, but not directly confront them. Mulan found herself in a dilemma. Leaving the castle now would play into the enemy's hands, but if she didn't go to the rescue, many of the Jean family's people could die die or be injured. We must save them. We have to save them. Having made up her mind, Jean Mulan immediately decided she must dispatch troops to rescue her people. Otherwise, what right would the Jean family have to be the lords of this land? She then turned to the lady of the Jean family and asked, "Mother, do you still remember the sword techniques of the Su family? I am going to lead 300 cavalry to save our people, leaving you with 700 troops. Is that enough to defend the Count's mansion?" The lady of the Jean family immediately assured her, "Even if I have forgotten, once I fight for my life, I will naturally remember. Do not worry, with my strength, I am sure to defend the Jean family's castle." Suddenly, Shen Lang's brother, Shen Jian, wearing armor, rushed over shouting, "Sister-in-law, don't go. I want to go with you to fight the enemy." Since the Shen family moved into the Count's mansion, Shen Jian had been practicing martial arts under the guidance of several Jean family experts. Now that his own family was in trouble, Shen Jian would not hide away, but Mulan directly refused him, telling him to stay at home and protect their parents. Shen Jian was not convinced. "I've been practicing martial arts for over half a year. Why can't I join the battle?" However, despite his frustration, Mulan no longer paid him any attention. Although she understood Shen Jian's desire to protect his family, going to war was not child's play. If anything happened to her brother-in-law, she wouldn't be able to explain it to her husband. Moments later, 300 cavalry were all assembled, and Mulan was ready to depart on her horse once more. Suddenly, Jean Sword Lady, who had just bandaged her wounds, rushed out. "Miss, please let me join you in battle." Mulan was about to refuse, but Jean Sword Lady cut her off. "Please rest assured, miss, my injuries are not serious. I witnessed our brothers being killed by those beasts with my own eyes. If I do not go to this battle and take revenge with my own hands, I will be restless for the rest of my life." Seeing her determination, Mulan no longer tried to stop her. "Dear sister, then let us go together, and leave none of them standing." After speaking, Jean Mulan gave the order, and all the cavalry followed her, rushing out of the city gates. At this time, the setting sun cast its last light over the dense forest in the valley, creating a stunningly beautiful scene. In this scene, a group of people in black lay in ambush on the trees along the path Jean Mulan and her troops were bound to take. They quietly watched as Jean Mulan led her team speeding past them. The leader of this group was none other than Jean Mulan's cousin, Su Jianting. At that moment, he watched Jean Mulan with a complex gaze. "This woman was supposed to become my wife, but unfortunately, she ended up with that bastard Shen Lang. But no matter, soon you will become a widow. Moreover, the crown prince has taken a liking to you. If I can't have you, then you shall become a stepping stone for the Su family." As night quickly fell, seeing that his plan to draw the tiger away from the mountain had succeeded, Su Jianting began to implement his next plan. He looked towards the brightly lit Count's mansion atop the hill. "This operation has my father's command. At any cost, we must seize that item. And I hope you will hand it over to me willingly when you see me." Then, putting on his mask, he ordered, "In this battle, spare no one, even if it's Su Peipei. Anyone who resists, kill without mercy." With that, he led over 100 skilled men in black towards the Count's mansion. Meanwhile, several miles away, the martial fanatic Tang Yan, mounted on a horse, stood at a crossroads, lost in thought. Behind him on the ground lay a sprawl of bodies. After losing to Jean Mulan, he had returned to Southern Sea Sword Island with his master Li Qianqiu to learn a new sword technique. This technique was hidden within a jade stone, and even Li Qianqiu himself would need 10 years to decode it. If anyone wished to decipher it in a shorter time, there was only one person capable of doing so, and that person was Shen Lang. At this moment, Tang Yan helplessly looked at the cryptic map his master had drawn. Since entering the territory of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, not only were the roads difficult to recognize, but he also encountered 3 groups of bandits. What he didn't know was that there were originally more than a dozen groups of robbers. However, after he swiftly defeated the first 3 groups, the remaining bandits were too scared to appear. Tang Yan, looking at the 3-way crossroad in front of him, sighed and muttered to himself, "My master could have led the way himself, but he stubbornly refused. I really don't understand what's so fearsome about the mythical Turtle Count's mansion, but my master had instructed, if faced with 2 paths, take the right. If 3, choose the middle. So, I'll follow my master's advice and take the middle path." This time, Tang Yan finally chose the correct path, unaware that his unexpected appearance, the martial fanatic Tang Yan, would change the fate of the Jean family at this moment. Earlier, in Furious Tide City, Chiu Yaoer's castle. "Miss, I'm very grateful that you saved me once. Now, to commit such an ungrateful act, I'm worse than a beast, but my children's lives are in Chiu Tianwei's hands. If I don't comply, they will die." Chiu Yaoer shook her head. "You were forced, so I won't blame you, but you need to tell me, why did you suddenly disappear, and why did you stop poisoning me?" Shushu told Chiu Yaoer, "Because I got pregnant, and because Chiu Tianwei was attacking the Jean family's Cliffwatch Island, while Furious Tide City needed you to defend it, so they temporarily stopped me from poisoning you." Hearing Shushu's answer, Chiu Yaoer's heart was in turmoil. "All these years, I've loyally conquered countless cities for my adoptive father, yet now, he actually wants to kill me." Shen Lang was right. "Chiu Tianwei, I no longer owe you my life. The debt between us is settled. settled. Thinking this, she took a deep breath, as if letting go of all burdens. Then she looked toward Shenlang. Shenlang, this castle and the entire Furious Tide City are yours now. I'm taking my people to wander far away. From this day forward, we part ways indefinitely. In the pitch black night, a village within the territory of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion was ablaze with fire. At this time, soldiers from the Tang and Su families, disguised as Kutuhuan bandits, were carrying out a frenzy of slaughter in the village. The cries and pleas for help stimulated the inner beasts of these men, unleashing the demons deep within their hearts. As they threw their torches, setting the houses on fire, they felt an unspeakable delight. Countless survivors from the Jin family, watching their homes burn and their relatives brutally killed, were overwhelmed by helplessness and despair, plunging them into endless fear. Laughing amidst the flames, one of the fake bandits said, "Do you wretches feel desperate? Still hoping for the Jin family to save you? Forget it. The Jin family is about to be finished. How could they care for you now?" However, before he could finish, the ground trembled violently. Looking towards the source, they saw a group of warriors on tall horses charging towards them through the dark night. Leading them was the valiant General Jean Mulan herself. She led 300 cavalry, wielding long spears, and shouted, "Kill all these beasts!" The villagers, upon seeing Jean Mulan, burst into tears of joy. Their lord had come to save them, also proving that the Jean family had not abandoned them. Faced with the arrival of Mulan and the cavalry, Tang 4 was not intimidated but showed disdain and scorn from his eyes. "Jean Mulan, you dare to come? Since you're so eager to seek death, let's see how you fare against these 50 expert warriors from the western regions supported by the Su family." With this thought, Tang 4 brandished his sword and shouted loudly, "Everyone, mount up and prepare for battle. Today, let's show them whether the Jin family's cavalry is strong, or if Kutuhuan is stronger." After speaking, he led his team at full speed towards the Jin family cavalry. In moments, the two forces clashed, colliding and battling furiously. Jean Mulan went straight for Tang 4. Though Jean Mulan's swordsmanship might not be the top among the younger generation, against Tang 4, she was more than capable. Seeing Tang 4 at a disadvantage, Tang 5 and Tang 7 also joined the fray. Facing this shameless 3-on-1 tactic, even Jean Mulan, strong as she was, found herself restrained for a moment. On the other side, although the Jin family cavalry had the advantage in numbers and equipment, facing the Tang family's elite masters and the Su family's warriors from the western regions, they ultimately fell into disadvantage. As the Jin family cavalry began to fall one by one, the Tang family masters also started attacking towards Jean Mulan's position. Now surrounded by the 3 Tang brothers and seeing more enemies approach, Jean Mulan gradually began to feel overwhelmed. Seeing this, the villagers nearby became anxious. "We can't just watch our lord be bullied by these scoundrels. Let's rush in and fight them." As soon as the words were spoken, people of all ages grabbed their shovels and hoes and rushed towards Jean Mulan's side. Jean Mulan was shocked and hurriedly shouted to stop them from getting closer. However, this moment of distraction gave Tang 4 the opportunity to strike, aiming his sword directly at Mulan's face. Mulan couldn't dodge in time, and her helmet was knocked to the ground. The ordinary villagers, powerless against the experts, were instantly killed. These beasts didn't even spare the fleeing villagers, leaving a trail of bodies in their wake. Seeing this, Mulan roared in anger and grief, "Beasts, you're seeking death." Her spear movements became even more fierce, thrusting directly towards Tang 4's chest. But the next second, a Western region's expert appeared behind Mulan, unexpectedly striking her back with a stone hammer. Jean Sword Lady, seeing her lady injured, immediately called for a dozen cavalry to assist. Even injured, Jean Mulan showed no fear. She had to ensure the villagers' safety and bring back the remaining soldiers. She wouldn't admit defeat, ready to fight to the death to protect the Jin family's honor. Just as she braced for a final stand, the sound of galloping hooves approached. Their leader also wore a mask with the character Ku. Everyone was shocked, wondering if these were the real Kutuhuan bandits. Seeing his disguise exposed, Tang 4 quickly gathered his men to flee. The real Kutuhuan snorted coldly under his mask. "Thinking of running? Let's see if you can escape." With that, he drew his long sword and charged into the fray, leaving no one alive in his path, striking like lightning. He quickly caught up to Tang 4. Kutuhuan didn't give him a chance to react, decapitating him in the blink of an eye. This scene left Jean Mulan utterly astounded. Yet, to confirm the identity of the person before her, Jean Mulan approached with courtesy to express her gratitude. "Thank you for your help. From the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. With such skills, you must indeed be the real Kutuhuan." Kutuhuan nodded. "I came here because I heard someone was impersonating me to kill the innocent and tarnish my reputation. I, Kutuhuan, have always only killed the wicked to carry out justice. Such actions cannot be tolerated." Jean Mulan, hearing this, bowed again and said, "Mr. Ku, your assistance this time will be remembered by the Jin family. If you ever need help in the future, please send someone to inform us. The Jin family will spare no effort to assist." A hearty laugh came from beneath Kutuhuan's mask. "How could we, lowly folks, dare to associate with the mythical Turtle Count's mansion? I shall take my leave now. Farewell." Then he turned and left with his followers, departing with style. Watching Kutuhuan leave, Jean Mulan couldn't help but sigh. How can such a hero, who punishes evil evil and promotes good be misrepresented as a thoroughly wicked person. The day before, in Furious Tide City, after learning of all Qiu Tianwei's schemes, Qiu Yaoer decided to leave the Thunderous Isle, which had confined her for 20 years, and handed over Furious Tide City to Shenlang. However, as she turned to leave, Shenlang appeared before her. Qiu Yaoer, you may leave, but what about my child you're carrying? Qiu Yaoer coldly responded, if this child is born safely, then among the many experienced women by my side, raising a child will surely be more than manageable. After hearing this, Shenlang felt conflicted. He believed Qiu Yaoer would ensure the child's safe growth, hoping it would be a girl. If it were a boy, growing up with such a formidable mother and surrounded by women, such an environment might impact the child's physical health. Now that Qiu Yaoer was willing to keep the child, and for the child's safe birth, Shenlang proposed removing the metallic poison beads hidden inside her. Although the child was illegitimate, it was still his flesh and blood. Shenlang quickly extracted 5 poison beads. Looking at these tiny grains, hardly a millimeter in size, it was hard to believe their toxicity could be so potent. He then handed the poison pills to Enzikian for safekeeping, stressing not to break them, as just one could be fatal. Qiu Yaoer, hearing his words, immediately sat up. Shenlang, to be as venomous as you are is truly rare. She then prepared to leave with her people, but Shenlang stopped her again. You can't go yet. Zhang Ji's 6,000 troops are waiting for me. You need to help me defeat him. Qiu Yaoer, puzzled, looked at Shenlang. That's your problem. What does it have to do with me? Facing the question, Shenlang unexpectedly resorted to being shameless. Because you, Qiu Yaoer, were cured by me. You said you owed me a favor. Besides, you assaulted me. Shouldn't you compensate? Then, Shenlang smiled slyly. It's simple. Just help me put on a show. Pretend our negotiations broke down. Then I launch an attack on you. You die in the onslaught of rocks, and we storm the city gates, fighting with your troops. That way, Zhang Ji will be fooled into ambushing me from behind. Then, we can join forces to eliminate him. Hearing Shenlang's plan, Qiu Yaoer's face was full of disdain. So troublesome, can't fight but still insists on fighting. Shenlang, who even gave you the courage? Reluctantly not wanting to owe this pretty boy a favor, she finally said. No need for such trouble. I'll just directly lead my troops and eliminate Zhang Ji. Shenlang shouted back. Are you out of your mind? Aren't your soldiers' lives valuable? A little inconvenience can reduce casualties. You know, listening to Shenlang's lecture, Qiu Yaoer was nearly driven insane. At this moment, she really wanted to kill him. Suppressing her inner rage, Qiu Yaoer grabbed Shenlang and quickly walked outside, as if staying another second would make her lose control and dismember Shenlang. When they stood atop the city gate again, Shenlang screamed in terror. He was being dangled over the city wall by his collar. Jin Hui and others were shocked. Oh no, young Master Shen is in danger. However, the next second, Qiu Yaoer threw Shenlang down. Shenlang was stunned. Damn it, big sister, that's like falling from the 5th floor. Do you really want me dead? Jin Shuring and the others were scared witless, sprinting over at the speed of a 100-meter dash. Just as Shenlang was about to hit the ground, Jin Shuring leaped up to catch their young Master Shen. Shenlang, still trembling after landing, cursed Qiu Yaoer furiously in his heart. My wife was right. You deserve to be slashed 1,000 times. Then, he turned around angrily and shouted, prepare the catapults. We're going to war. As his words fell, all soldiers immediately got the catapults ready. Then Shenlang shouted again towards the city top. Qiu Yaoer, you demoness, today is your day to die. Prepare to face your end. Catapults ready. Fire. As the words were spoken, several meteorite magnet boulders were hurled towards Qiu Yaoer from above. Yet she was neither hurried nor slow. She waved her ghost blade, effortlessly shattering them all. Due to the high metallic content in Qiu Yaoer's body, countless magnet powder immediately enveloped her. To cooperate with Shenlang's performance, Qiu Yaoer dramatically fell backwards, her massive form crashing down heavily. Seeing this, Shenlang was extremely irritated. Are you out of your mind, woman? Is your brain made of muscles? Couldn't you at least spit some blood and fall slowly? If you get hurt, it's one thing, but what about my child? Without further thought, Shenlang shouted, Qiu Yaoer is dead. All soldiers, follow me to storm the castle and take Furious Tide City. At that moment, with a loud bang, the castle gates were forcefully smashed down from the inside. Seeing this, the Jin family's 2,000 elite troops, led by Shenlang, charged into the castle. As Shenlang and the Jin elites were breaching the gates, Zhang Ji's scouts, one after another, hurriedly relayed the current situation to Zhang Ji. General, Shenlang and Qiu Yaoer have broken off negotiations, and the assault has begun. His catapults launched iron balls that killed Qiu Yaoer. Shenlang's troops have entered the Lord's mansion. Hearing this shocking news, Zhang Ji was numbed. He hadn't expected Shenlang to actually kill Qiu Yaoer as his father predicted. He was grateful for his father's foresight in predicting this scenario. Thank goodness my father instructed me to bring troops for rearguard action. Otherwise, if Furious Tide City falls into Shenlang's hands, it means the end of the new policy and my father's political career. But Shenlang, even if you've killed the demoness and stormed the mansion, what then? In the end, I, the Siskin, will still devour you. Wait for me to take your life. Shenlang, Furious Tide City will ultimately be mine. Today, I, Zhang Ji, will achieve this unprecedented feat. Thinking this, he stood up from his seat and loudly proudly declared, "Brothers, the moment for us to make our mark has arrived. Gather all the soldiers, and let us storm the Lord's mansion together." As his words fell, the generals were invigorated. They then rushed out of the fortress, assembling their 6,000 elite troops, and headed towards the Lord's mansion for battle. In the early hours of the next day, the Su family's covert guards also began their assault on the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Their agile movements seemed to deliberately create noise, drawing the attention of the Jin family guards on patrol. The leader of the new guards, Jin Xia, upon seeing this, hurriedly gathered all the guards to ready their bows for battle. They quickly found their positions, and under Jin Xiao's command, launched a volley of arrows at the enemy. Hundreds of arrows rained down like a shower, piercing the bodies of the enemies and slowing their advance. However, outside the city walls, although the Su family's covert guards were bloodily slain, Su Jianting's figure was nowhere to be seen. Clearly, this assault was his tactic of creating a diversion, aimed at concentrating the Count's mansion's attention elsewhere. At this time, he, leading a dozen trusted men, was in the weeds behind the Count's mansion's castle, searching for a secret passage into the residence. Referred to as a secret passage, it was actually just an abandoned sewer, known to him from childhood games of hide and seek with Jin Wulan and others. With the Jin family's main forces engaged in repelling the external attack, this moment provided an excellent opportunity for infiltration. Without further ado, Su Jianting and his men easily snuck into the interior of the Count's mansion. Soon, they arrived at their target location, the Count's mansion's library. He then ordered the guards behind him, "Stay here on watch. If anyone approaches, regardless of gender, kill without hesitation." After giving his command, he quickly entered the room alone. However, as he faced tens of thousands of books, he fell into contemplation. Searching through so many books one by one would take forever. Thinking this, he ordered those outside, "Leave 2 to keep watch. The rest come in. Look for a wooden box with no patterns." However, the library of the Count's mansion was just too large. After searching both the upper and lower floors without success, Su Jianting recalled there might be an underground library. He led his men to the entrance of the basement level. As he approached the iron door, he sensed someone inside. Instantly on alert, Su Jianting kicked the door forcefully, breaking open the heavy iron door. Surprisingly, after a quick scan, aside from neatly arranged original Jade secret texts, there wasn't even a mouse inside. Just as his men were about to enter, Su Jianting gestured for them to wait, then closed his eyes to use his breath to sense the surroundings. He found a thick-walled secret room and detected a non-martial woman hidden inside. After scouting, he turned and gestured for 4 experts to prepare for a direct attack, with the remainder ambushing from the sides. Suddenly, the wall was blasted open, and a terrified girl screamed out. In that moment, Little Bing's chest launched countless fine needles, shooting forward and instantly turning the few frontline attackers into a pincushion. When the needle rain ceased, the hit men fell, lifeless. Su Jianting was shocked. What kind of poison needle is this? So lethal. As Su Jianting cautiously looked inside, his eyes suddenly brightened. The trembling, beautiful person holding the strange weapon was none other than Little Bing, whom he hadn't seen for years. It turned out that Little Bing, deeply trusted by Shenlang, had been appointed as the keeper of the secret room. With enemies attacking that night, she could have stayed in the hall with the lady for safety, but considering her duty, she went to the secret room to destroy all of Shenlang's experimental records to prevent them from falling into enemy hands. Unexpectedly, she was discovered by Su Jianting after burning them, and before she could return, Su Jianting put away his sword and approached Little Bing, asking, "What are you doing here?" After all, if he hadn't torn up the marriage contract back then, this beauty might have become his woman. But before Little Bing could answer, Su Jianting noticed the freshly burned ashes next to her. His rage exploded, abandoning his previous gentle demeanor. "What were you just burning?" Facing the blade pressed against her neck, Little Bing, though crying from fear, still clenched her teeth, refusing to utter a word about young Master Shen's secrets. Thinking that she was about to die without having consummated her relationship with young Master Shen, filled Little Bing with such regret that she cried even harder. Su Jianting, seeing the pitiful Little Bing, softened his heart. Perhaps she really doesn't know anything. He withdrew his sword, and also took the strange weapon from Little Bing's hands. "This girl might still be useful later on. It's more important to quickly find what my father is looking for." He then continued to direct his men to search for the wooden box. Despite damaging all the jade texts, they still found nothing. Su Jianting frowned. Where exactly could the mythical turtle count have hidden this important item? After an unsuccessful search, Su Jianting, dragging Little Bing, threatened Mrs. Jean as a bargaining chip. This all started over a secret letter from more than 20 years ago. At that time, the situation in the Yu Kingdom was unprecedentedly complex, with external wars raging between Wu and Yu and internal strife for succession among the princes. Although Ning Yuanxian was established as the crown prince with the support of his family, his older brother Ning Yuanwu, due to his notable military achievements, gained the support of many military generals, thus harboring ambitions to usurp the throne. Because of the great war between Wu and Yu, Ning Yuanwu, who was a leading general, controlled a large portion of the Yu Kingdom's military forces. Seeing that the eldest prince was about to win, the distant guard Marquis Su family family decided to defect to Ning Yuanwu and pledge loyalty to him. To add an extra layer of security, the Su family sent a secret letter to the mythical turtle, Count Jinyu. Despite the cryptic content of the letter, it was clear that the Su family intended to persuade the Jin family to join them in supporting Ning Yuanwu. However, Count Jinyu not only flatly refused, but also made it clear that he would never involve himself in the struggle for succession. Just when everyone thought Ning Yuanwu was about to win the succession battle, the mighty duke unexpectedly led an army of 100,000, betraying Wu to support the Yu kingdom with the territories of 3 counties, clearly siding with Crown Prince Ning Yuanxian. From that moment on, the mighty duke became his biggest political ally, pushing Ning Yuanwu into a corner from which there was no return. Consequently, Crown Prince Ning Yuanxian made a miraculous comeback, winning the succession battle and becoming the current emperor. One of his first acts after ascending to the throne was to purge the loyalists and generals of Ning Yuanwu. Upon hearing the news, the Su family, in an attempt to retrieve the secret letter, not only reached out to the Jin family but also arranged a marriage between the newly born Su Jianting and Jin Mulan. However, 8 years ago, when the two families were preparing to fulfill the marriage agreement, the Su Nan Marquis suddenly demanded the letter from Count Jinjua. The upright Jinjua stated that he had burned it years ago in front of his wife, Su Peipei. Naturally, Su Nan did not believe him, leading to a major disagreement that night, resulting in the cancellation of the marriage agreement. Today, during a crisis at the mythical turtle count's mansion, Su Jianting, accompanied by over a dozen experts dressed in black and wearing masks, pushed Little Bing into the count's mansion hall. The intrusion caused immediate chaos among everyone present, including Mrs. Jean Su Peipei, who was surprised. The count's mansion is guarded all around. How did these people get in? However, upon recognizing the man holding Little Bing in black, she immediately realized everything. "Isn't this my cousin's son, Su Jianting?" Mrs. Jean was immediately furious. "Well done, Su Jianting. No wonder these people were able to sneak in undetected. Every time my Jean family faces difficulties, your Su family kicks us when we're down. You really are a fine maternal family." The more she thought about it, the angrier Mrs. Jean got, and she immediately wanted to confront him. However, before she could even call out his name, Su Jianting drew his sword to warn her not to make a sound. Seeing this, Su Peipei had no choice but to suppress her anger and asked in a deep voice, "Su Jianting, what is your purpose in targeting my Jean family time and again?" Su Jianting snorted coldly. "What do we want? You should be well aware. Where have you hidden the secret letter that my grandfather sent to your family years ago?" Hearing this, Su Peipei was shocked. She hadn't expected that her own maternal family still didn't believe that the letter had been destroyed by her husband. Seeing her stunned, Su Jianting directly placed his sword against Little Bing's neck and threatened, "Madam, if you do not hand over that item, I will kill this girl and let everyone here accompany you in death." Seeing the sword about to harm Little Bing, Mrs. Jean had no choice but to agree to his demand. Moments later, Mrs. Jean came in holding a long wooden box. Su Jianting's eyes lit up. "This is the box, no doubt about it. The Jean family really didn't burn the letter after all." Once Mrs. Jean handed over the box, Su Jianting hurriedly opened it to check. This is indeed my grandfather Su Jian's handwriting. However, he didn't know that the real secret letter had indeed been destroyed. This letter was a fake, made by Shenlang from cutouts of Su Jian's writings, intended for use against the Su family in the future. At this moment, Su Peipei spoke up. "Now that you have got what you wanted, please release Little Bing and leave this place. The Count's mansion will never welcome you again." However, Su Jianting handed Little Bing over to his subordinates and set the wooden box on fire before coldly saying, "Your Jean family really is cunning and deceitful. But now that you, Su Peipei, know so much, do you think you can still live?" Upon hearing these words, several veteran generals, led by Anzaishi, immediately drew their swords and stood in front of Su Peipei. The next second, both sides engaged in fierce combat. At this moment, Mrs. Jean, watching everything unfold, felt an overwhelming sense of grief and anger. "This is my own nephew. My maternal family really wants to put me to death." Tears filled Su Peipei's eyes as she mixed grief with indignation. "Su family, just you wait. From now on, I, Su Peipei, will have nothing to do with the Su family. When Shenlang returns, he will surely exterminate your entire clan." Thinking this, she suddenly drew her long sword and without a word, stabbed at Su Jianting, initiating a fierce battle. Surprisingly, Su Peipei, who hadn't wielded a sword in over a decade, hadn't lost her skill and was evenly matched with Su Jianting. Little Bing, though scared, didn't run away and even wanted to contribute her strength to the fight. Seeing her still there, Su Peipei quickly shouted for her to leave. At that moment, Little Bing took the opportunity to draw a second rainstorm of hidden blades and shot at Su Jianting. Two of the Su family's experts instinctively blocked it for Su Jianting. Seeing his men killed, Su Jianting was furious and continued to fight with Su Peipei while shouting, "Kill that girl." Several men in black charged at Little Bing. Seeing this, Su Peipei was shocked and immediately went to rescue her, but this moment of distraction allowed Su Jianting to severely injure her. Just then, two men in black reached Little Bing, but unexpectedly, she drew a third hidden weapon and shot at the two men, instantly killing them with the third rainstorm pear blossom. Seeing this, Su Jianting flew into a rage. Damn, how many hidden weapons do you have, you poisonous girl? Kill all the Jin family, every single one, young and old. The Su family's experts, ruthless and far more powerful, quickly overwhelmed the Jin family's inexperienced and old soldiers in the Count's mansion hall, causing numerous casualties. Watching this bloody slaughter, Su Jianting laughed psychotically under his mask, even thinking of abducting little Bing after clearing out the Jin family. However, in the next second, a figure suddenly appeared before him. Realizing who it was, Su Jianting was shocked. Isn't that Tang Yan? How did he get here? At that moment, Tang Yan looked at him and asked, I think I know you. Are you Su Jianting? What happened here? Where is Shen Lang? After saying that, he turned his head towards the hall. This isn't right. Why are you slaughtering the elderly and children here? Just as Tang Yan finished speaking, Su Jianting panicked, thinking that this martial fanatic might intend to help the Jin family. However, before he could stop him, Tang Yan had already drawn the sword from his back. Then, a familiar scene unfolded. Tang Yan, with lightning-fast movements, took down several of the Su family's experts in just a breath's time, instantly changing the course of the battle. Seeing this, Su Jianting was shocked and decisively ordered the remaining subordinates to retreat. This martial fanatic is too strong. I don't want to die here. Anyway, the thing we wanted has already been burned, and the Jin family is already on the decline. There's no need for me to linger in battle. Watching the black-clothed people flee in disarray, Tang Yan did not pursue them. Meanwhile, Su Peipei, gasping for breath, looked at the bodies strewn across the hall with deep heartache. These were faithful servants who were like family to her. Su Jianting, Su Nan, the entire distant guard marquis household. Just you wait. This deep vengeance will be repaid in blood when my son Shen Lang returns. The timeline shifts to the day before at sea, where the mythical turtle Count, along with Jin High Count, is sailing on Qiu Tianwei's ship towards the Isle of Gold Mountain. The mythical turtle Count is well aware that the real battle determining the fate of the Jin family isn't at Cliffwatch Island, but at Furious Tide City. The journey to the Isle of Gold Mountain is just a side mission. Then, Tang Luan approached, smiling. Brother Jinjua, you have already achieved a great victory. Why then do I not see a smile on your face along the way? The mythical turtle Count did not respond. His mind was constantly worried about Shen Lang's safety and the battle at Furious Tide City. Knowing that the dangerous Zhou Yaoer was stationed there, the stakes were incredibly high. If Shen Lang wins, the future for the Jin family will be smooth sailing. However, if Shen Lang loses, all their efforts would have been in vain. Tang Luan continued to flatter. I never expected Brother Jinjua to put aside past grievances and our family's hatred, giving me, Tang, a way out. Had it been someone else, I fear I would have been dead beyond dead. This favor, I, Tang, will definitely remember in my heart. The mythical turtle Count shook his head. Cousin, you are mistaken. The grievances and grudges are between our ancestors. We had no choice in the matter. How could I possibly hold a grudge against you? Upon hearing this, Tang Luan immediately put on a smile and lavishly praised the mythical turtle Count, appearing to admire him greatly. However, internally, he was grinding his teeth in hatred, harboring deep resentment without a shred of gratitude towards the mythical turtle Count. Nevertheless, Jinjua indeed harbored no thoughts of killing towards the Tang family. After all, he only truly despised two families, the distant guard Marquis Su family and the martial peace Count Shui family. These were the Jin family's in-laws and allies, yet they nearly drove the Jin family to extinction. At this time, Jin Zhong came to inform that they were soon to arrive at the Isle of Gold Mountain. Hearing this, the mythical turtle Count immediately ordered that the Tang family and their entourage remain on deck, while all other Jin soldiers hide in the cabin. Meanwhile, the pirates stationed on the Isle of Gold Mountain spotted Qiu Tianwei's warship and were ecstatic, knowing that the arrival of their lord's fleet to the Isle of Gold Mountain meant they had successfully taken over the Cliffwatch Island gold mine. They were looking forward to dividing the gold tonight. However, Tang Luan was surprised to see only a handful of pirates welcoming them upon landing. Where is Qiu Hao? Where are the warships at the dock? A pirate leader, not daring to admit that Qiu Hao had disobeyed orders and taken the main force away, could only vaguely claim the chief recently caught a chill and is resting in a cave. Your boss isn't here. You might as well tell me the truth. Seeing the opportunity for gain, the pirate immediately revealed the truth after receiving gold coins. The chief heard someone was going to attack Furious Tide City and worried that the female demon couldn't hold it, so he took all the main forces there to support. Tang Luan was stunned. How many people are left guarding the island? The pirate leader replied, there should be 1,000 people. Hearing this number, Tang Luan was shocked. Only 1,000? That means Qiu Hao took 4,000 of the main force back to Furious Tide City. Now, is it good or bad luck for Jinjua? I wonder if Shen Lang, that pretty boy, can withstand this attack. If he fails, then the Jin family only has one way out, death. Despite his thoughts, Tang Luan still sternly rebuked. Can these 1,000 pirates hold the Isle of Gold Mountain? There are thousands of miners alone. Can you keep an eye on them? The pirate leader said indifferently. Those miners are all your people. There's no need to watch them. In the mythical turtle Count's mansion, there are 1,000 or 2 captives, but they are very obedient, hardly needing any supervision. Now, Now, leaving 700 people to oversee the mine is more than enough. Tang Luan's heart tightened again. So, you're saying there are only 300 pirates defending the dock? Doesn't that mean Jinjua could easily take over the Isle of Gold Mountain? Thinking of the mythical turtle count's promise to let him go home once the Isle of Gold Mountain was taken, he didn't dare delay for even a second and sternly rebuked, "I came here to deliver food to you, and I didn't expect there would only be 1,000 of you guarding here. This is absolutely unacceptable. Wait here. I will go back to the ship and think of a way to possibly leave some people behind to strengthen your defenses." Moments later, after returning to the ship, Tang Luan relayed the island's defensive situation to the mythical turtle count. "Brother Jinjua, you're really lucky. There are only 1,000 pirates guarding the island, split into two groups, 300 at the dock and 700 at the mine." Before he could finish, the mythical turtle count interrupted Tang Luan and asked him where Chiu Hao had gone. Tang Luan smiled. "He's obviously gone back to Furious Tide City to support Chiu Yaoer. Brother Jinjua, don't forget you said once the Isle of Gold Mountain is taken, you would send me and my son home." Hearing Tang Luan's response, the mythical turtle count's face drastically changed. Chiu Hao went back to Furious Tide City, but Shenlang is still there. Immediately, he called Jin Zhong and ordered, "All hands on deck. Abandon the Isle of Gold Mountain and head full speed to Furious Tide City." Tang Luan was shocked at this command. "Brother Jinjua, the Isle of Gold Mountain is almost ours. How can you just give it up?" The mythical turtle count replied sternly, "Shenlang is my family. What is the Isle of Gold Mountain compared to the life of my son-in-law?" After saying this, he hurried to the deck, taking control of the helm towards Furious Tide City. Tang Luan fell silent at this scene. For the sake of a son-in-law, the mythical turtle count was willing to give up significant gains, something Tang Luan couldn't do himself. No wonder Shenlang was wholeheartedly devoted to the Jin family. This is what truly makes a family. Inside Furious Tide City, Zhang Ji, leading 6,000 elite troops like a tide of iron armor, was rushing towards the main castle. His blood was boiling. "Father, you always say how outstanding Shenlang is. Today, I will prove to you that your son is the strongest. I will achieve a great victory, allowing you to become a marquis and a high official. What Jin Zhou Count achieved over 100 years ago, your son will surely make happen for you." As the 6,000 cavalry trod through the streets of Furious Tide City, all the shops and houses closed their doors and windows tightly. The city's inhabitants were terrified and uneasy. Is the sky changing? Will Furious Tide City become the territory of Yu Kingdom in the future? Will this no longer be the city of freedom? Meanwhile, above the main castle, shouts and cries of battle could be heard. Unbeknownst to many, this was actually a ruse by Shenlang and Chiu Yaoer's forces, randomly shouting to create an illusion. At this moment, Shenlang's personal bodyguard brought news. Zhang Ji has led 6,000 elite troops towards the castle. Shenlang sneered upon hearing this. "Zhang Ji, I've finally been waiting for you." At that time, inside the castle, Chiu Yaoer, after receiving the news, grabbed her ghost blade and prepared to go out to battle without a second thought. Shenlang saw this and became annoyed. "Big sister, have you gone mad? Can't you stick to the plan and defend the castle, waiting for Zhang Ji to come in on his own?" Chiu Yaoer disdainfully replied, "I don't like defensive play that's timid and hesitant. Such minor characters should be dealt with quickly. No need to drag it out." Then she turned to Su Chanqian. "This Zhang Ji is your enemy, right? Don't worry, I'll avenge you right now." Saying this, she gave the order and led her 2,000 elite troops directly out to battle. This move by Chiu Yaoer left Shenlang dumbfounded. Is this woman crazy? Su Chanqian, hearing his comment, became furious. "You're the one who's crazy. The general is the most incredible woman in the world. You, a scumbag, have no right to judge her." After saying this, she ran towards the city wall, determined to witness her idol crushing her father's murderer in revenge. Watching Su Chanqian's departing figure, Shenlang was helpless. Why are all these women so impulsive? Meanwhile, outside the city wall, Zhang Ji could no longer contain his arrogance, loudly shouting Shenlang's name as he charged towards the castle. However, the next second, a tall figure wielding two large swords, followed by a group of cavalry, emerged from within the city. The person with such an imposing aura was none other than the female Rakshasa, Chiu Yaoer. At this moment, Zhang Ji's face was filled with disbelief. This woman is still alive? What kind of skill did Shenlang use to win over Chiu Yaoer to set up this trap with him? However, a sense of ridicule-fueled anger quickly surged within him. The formidable pirate Rakshasa aligning with a pretty boy to commit such backstabbing acts is truly laughable. They say you, Chiu Yaoer, are invincible under heaven. I'm curious to see just how formidable you are. Today, let me truly understand the strength of this demoness. At this, two rational generals beside Zhang Ji hurried to catch up with his pace. "General, this demoness is too powerful. You must not act rashly." As their words fell, all the soldiers behind rushed forward to protect Zhang Ji in the center. However, Chiu Yaoer's speed was too fast. In just a blink of an eye, she appeared in front of everyone. The next second, before anyone could react, she swung her ghost blade. The 200-pound giant blade whirled like a fan in her hands, crazily spinning. The terrifying blade effortlessly cut down the cavalry and their horses from a distance of 2 meters, leaving them slaughtered on the ground. The enemy, witnessing this scene, scene, intended to immediately pull back, but Cho Yaoer gave them no chance. Swinging her ghost blade like a tank, she charged directly into the enemy lines, leaving a trail of crushed bones and corpses wherever she passed. On the city walls, Shen Lang and Su Chanqian, who were watching the spectacle, were in shock and admiration, respectively, at Cho Yaoer's terrifying combat prowess. One's jaw was nearly dropping, while the other was mentally placing her idol on a pedestal. No wonder Qiu Tianwei couldn't tolerate her and wanted her gone. Such a formidable woman definitely threatens the Qiu family's status among the pirates. The people behind them were also terrified by the scene, sweating cold sweat. No wonder Cho Yaoer never inquires about the number of enemies before a battle. Her combat strength could render an 8-meter radius around her devoid of life. Jin Shuring thought, I originally believed that despite Cho Yaoer's reputation, I might manage a few moves against her, but now, thankfully, young Master Shen has a relationship with her. Otherwise the 2,000 men brought by the Jin family would have been completely annihilated in less than an hour. Watching Cho Yaoer's subordinates, each displaying remarkable agility and murderous intent, Jin Hui timidly asked from behind, young Master Shen, do we still need to send troops to assist? Shen Lang frowned and then shook his head. This demoness has gone mad with killing. We must avoid getting caught in the crossfire and becoming her victims. On the battlefield, the Zhang family's soldiers lay dead in heaps, with the survivors desperately trying to protect their general. However, all their efforts were in vain. Cho Yaoer quickly dispatched all remaining soldiers and approached Zhang Ji. Facing the imminent Cho Yaoer, Zhang Ji was trembling from head to toe, yet his pride prevented him from retreating in fear. Suddenly, Cho Yaoer lifted her giant blade and turned to walk away, leaving Zhang Ji puzzled by her retreat. After moving about 20 steps away, she stopped, turned around, and pointed her blade at Zhang Ji with her left hand. Zhang Ji realized Cho Yaoer was arrogantly challenging him to charge at her on horseback, a blatant humiliation that fueled his anger. You, Cho Yaoer, may be strong, but I, Zhang Ji, am not so easily defeated. Since you're so arrogant, don't blame me for fighting dishonorably. With that, he charged towards her. Cho Yaoer, no matter how strong you are, you're still flesh and blood. I don't believe you can withstand the force of my charging horse. However, Cho Yaoer simply planted her sword into the ground and, bare hands, readied herself. As Zhang Ji leaped at her with his horse and sword, aiming for a surprise attack, Cho Yaoer's speed was astonishing. She delivered a punch directly to Zhang Ji's horse. The terrifying force of her punch sent the horse, along with Zhang Ji, flying. Then, as Zhang Ji fell, she caught him by the neck, holding him mid-air like a chick. In Cho Yaoer's eyes, Zhang Ji was no different from Shen Lang. Both were easy targets. For her, battles were always quick kills. Thus, Zhang Ji was utterly defeated, and Shen Lang managed to secure Furious Tide City effortlessly without deploying a single soldier, thanks to his wit.